Alrighty, perfect. Sweet. So for my first question for the outreach assignment, it relates to the project itself. What softwares that we explored during our internship were most beneficial for restructuring the interaction design syllabus?
Um, so it was very helpful being able to, and I actually was able to hand some of the students a piece of your specific research document to help them decide on which direction they were going to go in using the other. I'm trying to think of what the JavaScript version of Unity was that you had looked at. I can't remember what it was now, but
Uh,
um,
Play Canvas, I think.
Play Canvas, that's right.
Yeah.
And so they started getting into it, and it was good. We did find that just because of the extent of how far the project is going, that there isn't enough documentation for it to get beyond much in the early stages. So I've been building Unity guides. So they've switched to Unity since. For the on the other side, with Rhino, it was very, very helpful, especially in the beginning, helping, especially last term, helping make decisions about what things people could work with. Probably the thing that changed that we had unforeseen knowledge of, and that has affected it completely, is that Rhino 7 came out, which means that students were able to get like another free trial.
Oh,
So
nice.
they got a free trial in the fall in Rhino 6, and then we're able to like just get another free trial for 90 days all of a sudden. And Rhino 7 is pretty magnificent. So um,
Interesting.
yeah, so but it was super, super helpful in if for no other purpose than having the backup plan ready, because we ended up having multiple backup plans. And in fact, at no time, maybe early in the term, last term, it was a little tough for people to like log in and use the the software, but we've only had hardware issues. We've not really had any software issues this year, I would say. Um, so the pre-planning and everything was great, and it was great having it all. In fact, so what it did is it gave a lot more confidence in that if we ran into a problem, there was a software solution. Which was really good, because like I mentioned, we had all sorts of hardware problems, and the hardware problems then became things we could focus on and just go, wow, we don't need to worry about the software. So
Oh, that's interesting. Well, I'm glad to hear that it was a success. Nice.
yep.
Okay, so this question, I guess, more so applies to the students themselves.
Mhm.
So, what takeaways will students gain from the switch to an online approach, and I guess the softwares that we explored? So, I feel like you touched on that a little bit, providing options.
Mhm.
But yeah, if you have any more input on that.
It was mostly providing options. I would say that on the like whenever you're sort of doing pathfinding or even analysis of what might be coming forward. So we made, not we, I made assumptions, and through the two terms, things shifted in a few ways. So it was mostly in the backup realm. I don't know how many other students, other than I only had one or two groups that kind of tried Play Canvas, and some of them fell back on some of their own things they've worked on before. Um, Trying to think of with Rhino if there was anything specific. We didn't end up going towards a Fusion 360 just because of the way things worked out with Rhino. We ended up everything was a backup plan, right?
Yeah.
All of our research was based on backup plans, and the systems in place when they had problems, the solution had more to do with Rhino having trials that students could use than needing to use ours entirely. So that's why it was more about the confidence having the backup than implementing the backup.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Now, it may shape, though, I would say this, that it has shaped part of the conversation with other faculty about whether or not we're going to switch from Rhino. And now it's hard to say, just because Rhino 7 is really good and the way things have worked out, it's hard. It is kind of, there's a tough situation right now in that it's so good that we're not sure if we were going remote, whether, because the students haven't tested enough the remote system for accessing Rhino, we don't know how really it is. We don't still know how robust it is,
Mhm.
right? Everybody's using their own trial.
Yeah, that's interesting. That kind of ties to the next question I was going to ask. Um, yeah, so basically, I was just wondering how the approach that you took, planning all these different softwares, how
Mhm.
that would help students once the pandemic is actually over.
So
Like,
one of the things
yeah.
is that their Rhino trials are going to expire,
Hmm.
and they're going to find themselves in a situation where they don't have access to 3D software. And all of the things that we looked at were options that worked around that exact problem. So that's sort of at the crux of why I'm not convinced that, even though Rhino is so good, or Rhino 7 is so good, that it's going to end up being the final solution, because it's still a limited solution. And we're basically getting students even working within an ecosystem that they are not going to use ever again.
Right.
So moving to a Fusion 360, I think, gives the option of it having legs going forward. And so it's going to be part of the discussions in the spring as to where we're going with that. The difficulty with that is always, although I was going to say the difficulty is that we already have a lot of curriculum that's embedded in Rhino. However, there's a lot of changes coming next year to that course, and it's actually an opportunity to completely abandon Rhino. So we'll see.
Hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I did actually hear that based on our own feedback, that the courses or the whole program itself is going to be tailored quite substantially. Like, I think they're not having as many electives. I think they're also allowing the students to kind of specialize in certain
Oh,
courses.
I see what you're saying. So what it is we have the college credit system and the university credit system are not aligned. So university has fewer credit, or like what is it? Fewer hours, or I can't remember if it's fewer hours or fewer credits. There's some kind of different way of it working.
Mhm.
And our program is sort of built on a college model, but it's a university accreditation. And so we basically, there were too many credits in a lot of ways. So we've pared down the credits, which kind of pares down the amount of work and electives and all the other stuff that students have, so they can focus more on it. It also creates a lot of 6-hour classes, and there's a lot of other things going on now. So
Yeah, yeah, I did hear some. I think it was the IXD class was being increased to 6 hours. But yeah,
every year has one version. So next year we roll out next year 3D design, which changes its entire format, name, and everything, um, becomes a 6-hour class. So the we'll see where the plan goes. It may end up being that we end up doing in 1 year what we would do normally in a year and a half. So we would get through third year up until Christmas in second year,
mhm.
allowing third year first term to really focus on um, next level Internet of Things kind of stuff. And then going forward, there'll be a new elective in the third year second term, so that you don't have to take physical computing. It would just be an elective amongst like 4 other classes, and each one would be an individual class. So like you could take a research methods focus, or it could be like projection mapping, or now these days it could be like a Unity, like a deep dive into Unity, something like that. So anyway, that's what's coming.
That's really cool. Yeah, providing the option for students to choose kind of like
Our
special.
own electives,
Yeah,
right? Our own electives instead of campus electives.
yeah, that's really helpful. Like honestly, I'm gonna go back once I graduate, and I'm gonna actually like take specialized courses just to kind
Yep.
of, gain a little bit more insight on all of that. So I definitely think
Awesome.
that's a great implementation.
Yep. Yeah,
Um,
it's great.
yeah. So I guess I only have you for 4 more minutes. Um, hmm. Well, I wanted to say a lot of the stuff that I learned from your classes themselves, like the 3D modeling, physical computing, I actually applied to my thesis, and
Awesome.
yeah, I'd love to share that. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time, but I just wanted to say thank you for helping me out
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah,
So
you're welcome, Declan. It was awesome having you as a student and working with you.
yeah, it was too bad I couldn't get you as a prof this year, but
Yeah, I thought I would have seen you in project management.
yeah, I guess the schedule just didn't align up, but
No, I know it happens.
that's unfortunate.
So it happens with a lot of students that I see a lot. One, like, because I teach such a chunk of second and third year classes,
Mhm.
and then you never know. I won't be teaching fourth year next year because of these changes. I'm just doing focusing on the computational and the 3D, and so.
Mhm. Interesting. Yeah, I guess I did have one last question. This was more a vague question in terms of like the realm of interaction design itself. Um, so feel free to answer it if you're interested in it. So just as a general question, what aspects of interaction design do you find are the most in demand?
Are the most
In demand.
in demand.
Yeah. I mean, I know that's kind of like a difficult question to ask. So if they're, if it's not if it's too much trouble, no problem at all. But I guess I don't know. I was just wondering for myself after
I think that because so many systems are becoming interactive,
mhm,
um, that interaction design as a methodology is becoming more uh, maybe expected. What's interesting is to see that in for the longest time, including a practice like mine, where it comes from an art degree and then a communications degree, like I found interaction very roundaboutly. So a lot of the people that are out there in the industry who are leads of things, that's where they came from. They came from like odd places
mhm,
and found themselves at interaction. So now that there's like it's more of like an industry that has people that are trained in it that way, it'll be interesting to see how that works. um, it'll be interesting to see. I'm very curious to see whether the push for those skills continues to rise, and I hope it does. um,
me too.
I hope that I think what it comes down to is I hope that it is still recognized enough as a sort of, I don't, instead of a soft skill, right? Instead of like a people skill, um, it's more of a hard skill as to like the nuts and bolts of how do you encourage participation, right? And so those are the types of things that I think are continuing to grow, and where the opportunities are, especially in like like across a huge range. And that's something that I hope our program starts to do or see a lot more of within students, is not just in the realm of just apps and purely digital. It'd be nice to see more of the physical computing. The way things are going, it looks that way. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of my draw to interaction design itself is more so the physical realm.
You would love what we're doing. It's made so many changes, Declan, in third year about like we've gone to another microcontroller that allows wireless connectivity. And so
Oh, that's awesome.
fully we're now fully controlling our uh, microcontrollers through P5 on the server wirelessly, both ways, communicating from and to. Like it's, yeah, it's been hard getting there. Like it's,
For sure. That's interesting that you brought that up because that was actually an obstacle that I was trying to overcome in my thesis project,
oh
incorporating wireless connectivity.
oh, it's too bad. I have guides on doing it.
Well, maybe I can. I mean, it is a little late into the actual semester itself, so I've kind of developed a plan that works for me. But
Yep.
hey, I would love to take my own thesis project past this course itself. So
Yep.
yeah, if you do have any suggestions, I definitely would love to hear them.
Well, that's like I built massive guides on using different Internet of Things. So there, it's basically using a data broker. So you have to have a place that you can send your data to and retrieve your data from,
Hmm.
a server basically.
Yep.
And so there are those already exist. You just need to know where to look for them. So I built guides for two of them, and there's a third one that a student has sort of found that's really strong. Just found out about it yesterday.
Oh,
So um, it's that's sort of where we're going with things. So I do have guides. I can send you something.
yeah, that'd be great, Steve. Really
It
appreciate it.
uses a specific microcontroller called the Feather, which is
Okay.
it's from Adafruit. It's about a third to a quarter the size of an Arduino, it's wireless and Bluetooth, so it's just a way better microcontroller. It's harder to use, so a little bit, right? Like you need to
Right.
know how to use it, and the guides help you get set up. So
Makes sense.
anyway, cool.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Steve. Really, really
Yeah, you're
appreciate it.
welcome, Declan. I'm
Yeah.
gonna do my best to come to the year-end event. Hopefully, I'll see you there. Right now. I'm on 4 weeks of 15 to 18-hour days.
Oof.
So without a break, building guides, those guides for the Feather, and then the guides for Unity. I'm in the middle of one right now, and then I teach at noon. So I'm going to do my best to get there, but these days, I just honestly want to get sleep and see my family.
Totally
So
understandable. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, anyway, Steve, thank you
awesome.
so much for the help on this outreach assignment.
Yeah,
Really
you're
appreciate
welcome, Declan. It's great talking to you. Okay,
it. Yeah, you too. Take
awesome.
care.
Bye bye.